I don't think I'll ever find it in my heart to want to earnestly convert or wear.
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Faiven.
And welcome to Let's Talk About It.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, we want to hear from you, so comment below during the video.
Today we are talking about compatibility. Opposites attract, but do they last?
Do you have to be equally yoked and agree on everything for it to work? Let's talk about it. But first, rapid fire.
Would you convert religions for your husband?
No. Do you ever catch yourself comparing your marriage to other marriages?
I want to say no, but that's a lie. What traditions do you want to pass on or start with your future family?
Making holidays about gathering and food, not about exchanging material gifts. What part of a corporate work life sounds appealing to you since you've never had it?
Maybe the stability, your paychecks are coming on time, regular.
Facts, maybe the only upside.
Share a favorite childhood memory.
Trying panzerotti for the first time. It's like a calzone, very cheesy, very big bec. Would you rather struggle financially on your own or struggle with a partner?
I would rather struggle together because at least we're making more than what I would be on my own. Terrible question. I don't want to struggle at all. If your partner asked you to change your diet because of their religious beliefs, would you?
Yes.
So you'll change your diet but not your religion, just to clarify.
Yeah, I have a whole story about that.
Okay, stay tuned.
A part of single life that I do not miss at all is
sleeping alone. Like, I love that I have a big spoon waiting for me every night.
Sometimes the spoon likes to poke you in the back.
Would you be okay if your child was atheist?
I would respect them, just like I respect all religions. I would also respect a lack of religion. Are you more likely to be jealous of someone's body, bank account, or talent?
I'm gonna say bank account.
So girl, I am dating a Muslim.
Oh, first one?
For the first time, and it is such foreign territory for me because to me, like, I was baptized Christian faith, but I never practiced really.
Now, did he put this in his bio on the apps or did you find out in person?
I found out on the second date.
Okay.
But I thought it might be the case because he wrote that he didn't drink, and he's from a West African country, so I know there's a lot of Muslim countries, so I was like, oh, he's probably Muslim.
Okay.
I'm just genuinely ignorant to everything. I know basic stuff like fasting at Ramadan, no alcohol, no pork. So obviously out the gate, we're not the same religion, so we're not equally yoked. But just like there are secular Christians, I'm sure there's secular Muslims. So honestly, after he told me he was Muslim, I was like, are you even allowed to date me right now? Because
that's a fair question though.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, am I? Because I did hear stories. I went down a Reddit rabbit hole and they were like, yeah, sometimes Muslim guys just like to play the field and they'll like hook up with everyone. But when they're ready to get married, then they pick their chaste Muslim wife. So I was like, hey, he better not be playing with me. So I asked him so many questions. And even when it came down to like the rapid fire, when you said, would I change my food choices based on a relationship? Yeah, I would, because I cook a lot. And I talked to him about that. I said, okay, in our hypothetical future household, would I be allowed to still have bacon as my protein of choice with my breakfast platter? And he was like, yeah, if you want to, you can have bacon. And I was like, okay, I'll just give you like halal chicken sausage or something, right? He's like, yeah. So halal is kind of like the Muslim version of kosher, of like the Jewish food, how it's prepared. So even he explained to me about the meat, he can only eat halal butchered meat. So if I'm making dinner, I'll go to Trader Joe's and get all my regular stuff, but the actual chicken and beef and stuff, I'll go to the halal butcher and get that. So I'm like, oh, easy peasy, right? But I feel so responsible for enabling people because I told him, I looked things up and I'm like, you're not allowed to date me, it's haram. which means forbidden. And
how are you going to tell this man what he's allowed to do within his religion?
I'm just so type A that I'm like, so sir, this is not correct. And he was like, relax.
Sit down.
Yeah, but he did tell me he was engaged to someone years ago who was a different race and an atheist. So I'm like, okay, then you really are open-minded and it's not going to be that big of a deal. I did ask about the children and he said he would like to raise them Muslim, but then they can make their own decision when they grow up. And I don't know. I just don't know anything about the mosque. And I was like, are you going to make me wear the hijab? And he was like, no. So I think he's just a very Americanized, secular Muslim who just doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't eat pork. He still prays multiple times per day, quick prayers.
Would you join him in prayer if he asked you to? Or maybe sit next to him in solidarity?
See, I didn't ask enough questions because I don't know if that's allowed. Because I know in a mosque, the men go this way and the women go this way.
Okay.
Don't they sit in different...
Girl.
Exactly. I haven't felt this ignorant in a very long time.
But I think, I imagine that the fact that you're even asking questions, right? Because one thing that you've shared with me is that like you hate when you talk to people or you're in that getting to know stage and they don't ask anything. And sometimes it's for fear of not wanting to look like they don't know. But I think your willingness to even ask shows interest, which is a good thing. And just like you're like, oh, he's open-minded because he's willing to entertain me and I'm not X, Y, and Z. I mean, sis, you got to give yourself credit. You are probably, at least when it comes, you're very type A, yes, and you are very rigid in certain ways, absolutely. This is my spreadsheet friend. But when it comes to dating, you are pretty open-minded. Like most people have a type and they don't venture outside their type because I said I like 6 feet and he ain't 6 feet. But, you don't really have a type. And I mean, no shade. Like, you're willing to try it all. Like, you've dated older, you've dated younger, you've dated outside your race. You haven't necessarily picked a religion, but you're also not turned off by somebody that, you know, is steadfast in theirs. And I think that is great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, a good person is a good person.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what package they come in. Obviously, you want to be attracted to them. You can't have a lifetime with somebody who you're repulsed by.
Yeah, I was like, hold on now. I can't co-sign on the package. I don't have a type, but I have a preference.
Yeah, I have a preference. But even like, I was willing to make it work with somebody who was shorter than me, who, like, there was just a whole, like, if you would have done a double take, but I was just like, it would have been like a Zendaya Tom situation. And I'm like, see, that's our God right there. But it didn't work out with that person. But yeah, I am very open-minded. But you're kind of the same wave as me, where like you're more spiritual, like you like read books and you meditate and you do stuff like that, but you weren't going to church every Sunday. So the fact that you ended up with was a preacher's kid, right?
Pastor's kid.
Pastor's kid? See, I'm just ignorant to that too. I don't know. But like, what was it like for you literally marrying someone who's of the church?
I think the bigger stressor was on my husband. I didn't realize how nervous and terrified he was and how much stress I was putting him through, because I was like, what? You know, like I said I go to church sometimes. I said I believe in God, so check, we good. But, you know, he is a PK. You know, I have not one but two in-laws that are pastors. And he grilled me pretty intensely before we started dating. We talked about what we would want for our kids. You know, what if they chose a different religion? Is that okay? Would you force your religion on them? And I think ultimately what it came down to for us was that I just needed somebody to accept me where I was at. Similar to parenting, right? Like, even though my husband and I have kids together, because I came into the relationship with a child, I'm always gonna have, how old was our daughter at the time? 8. I'm always gonna have 8 years more experience than him. Him growing up in the church and reading the Bible and doing all of these things makes me, in a similar fashion, feel like, all right, well, no matter how much Bible I do, I think you might always have a leg up on me. And is that okay? So as long as he's willing to show me grace in my my baby faith, baby Christian journey, and then give me credit, because I do need a little bit of credit. Like, he's like, what do you mean we're going to church on Sunday? And I'm like, okay, but like, I don't do this. Like, not only are we going to church on Sunday, we're arriving 2 hours sooner because of all the roles that you have within the church. So this is cutting into baby's nap time, and I still got to make breakfast. And oh wait, we're leaving 2 hours later, because trying to pull you out of a church building is like trying to pull a politician like off of his, campaign trail. So we actually spend a lot of hours there, as opposed to somebody that's just coming regularly to attend service. So I just need a little bit of credit, because all of this is still very new to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a huge deal, because a lot of people who aren't in the church, especially every Sunday is the reset day. Sunday, deep cleaning, laundry, food prepping. Like, so that's kind of what I do Sundays and Mondays sometimes.
Exactly.
So now you're just dressed appropriately, and
Sunday is now a work day, so we try to take Mondays off and have that be our weekend. But I had to do a huge mindset shift, because I enjoy my slow weekends. I enjoy just getting up and listening to like a lo-fi playlist and making breakfast for the family. And now it's just a little bit more fast-paced and early mornings and things like that. But
would he have been okay with you deciding to not attend church service?
No, I think we didn't put a number on it, but I think the deal that we kind of have is, I need you to go more times than not. I mean, being pregnant now, like sometimes I'm just like tired, or if I was traveling the day before because of work or visiting family that lives out of state, then sometimes I'm like, listen, babe, I'm not gonna make it today, but I can stream online. And again, I ask for like grace in those moments. So yeah, he's not like, we have to go every Sunday. He's gonna go every Sunday. But he does cut me a little slack there.
That's good.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, so those are the questions I'm going to have to ask very specifically to my current suitor, because I don't want to end up in a situation where we're really deep in, feelings are involved, we're integrated into each other's lives, and then the deal breakers arise. So I know you can't account for every single incompatibility, but some major things you can figure out, such as, do I have to go to church with you every Sunday?
Yes.
That's something pretty bold that you can figure out in the first few dates, you know?
Yeah. But it's interesting to me, because like, even though me and Joe grew up like so differently, like even as a child, I maybe went to Sunday school every now and then, or if one of my friends was going, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go with you. And that was kind of it. The things that we're still able to find common ground on now, like I don't know if it's just because we have more kids or we're getting older, but without even being forced, like the both of us naturally are gravitating towards more just like worship and Christian-based music, just like in our day-to-day lives. Because I don't know if you've listened to the radio recently or any of the new artists that are out, and I know how old I sound right now because I hear myself, but I just cringe, because I'm like, oh, I don't want my kids hearing that. They're not saying anything positive. They're glorifying things that I don't want my kids to glorify. And then I just laugh, because I'm like, wow, if anybody would have told me years ago that one day you will be in your 30s and you will marry someone of the church and you will listen to Christian music, lo-fi beats, or dead silence, I would have been like, nope, wrong girl. You got the wrong girl. But yeah, we're just so much more mindful of what we're consuming consciously and subconsciously, and just like how we want to raise our kids, Yeah,
I totally understand that journey too. Specifically about the music, I kind of started liking country music for the same reason that you liked Christian music. You can actually hear the words, you hear the storyline.
They tell a good story.
A good story, and like good beats. Because yes, new music now, especially a lot of the rap, these female rappers are just like describing their vulvas in detail.
We are aging ourselves so bad.
I'm just trying to fix a plate. Why are you talking about your vagina?
But you had an issue where you were going on a date with somebody, and of all the reasons that a date wouldn't pan out, I was shook when it was over
Music, movies, and dance.
Yes.
So that was his excuse, I found out later. I saw him on Hinge over a year later, and it said figuring out my dating goals, aka he didn't know what he wanted.
He was confused.
Yeah, and at the time, I think he was 38, maybe I was like 33. He had a good job, pretty set up in his lifestyle, and all that was missing was like the wife, right? So we were dating for a few months, and then it got to a point where it's like, hey, so what are we doing? Naturally. And then that made him actually have to reflect. And what he threw back at me was, yeah, I don't think we're compatible because I'm really into music and movies, and you haven't seen a lot of the classics that I've seen, so you're not gonna pick up on the references, and you didn't know the Biggie lyrics when we went to the tribute concert, and this and that.
Reach.
Yeah, and I was like, oh. And also, I'm like, come on, that doesn't really track because there's so many men, specifically black men, who date outside their race, and I'm like, do you think every, like, Becky, like, knows every movie and every song? Like, you knew I grew up in the suburbs of Connecticut, and, like, we listened to different things and watched different things. I didn't watch Friday and Set It Off till I was a little older, like in my 20s, and you were watching that when it came out. Sorry, I was watching Clueless, you know? So, I don't know. Some things are important and some things are not important. So, like music, if you have your favorite artist, send me the Spotify playlist.
Right.
The end. That's all.
That's literally what me and Joe did. Joe had never seen Game of Thrones. I'm not going to divorce him over that. I rewatched it with him because it was a good show. I'm actively right now watching Lord of the Rings. I couldn't get behind it, just like the elves and the ears and Gollum and his little voice, but I'm on the second one now. It's like, have you seen it?
A long time ago, yeah.
Okay, I think
that's
it's
where
like
Orlando Bloom is a fairy, right?
With the long blonde hair, slicked and laid, yep.
Yeah.
When somebody really wants you, they will make the time. That could have been a cool opportunity to, come over and let's have a movie marathon and we'll watch Set It Off. He was fishing, yeah.
Fast forward, I did a scene with Queen Latifah on The Equalizer on CBS, so not only have I seen Set It Off, but I've acted with the Queen, okay?
How about that? Yeah.
But yeah, so there's some stuff that people can literally grasp at straws and being like, well, we're not compatible because of this, this, and that. It's like, no, that's called self-sabotage.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like deal breaker stuff, like if you've always envisioned wanting to be a parent and the person that you're dating does not want children, they're child-free by choice, then that's incompatibility,
right?
You know, but if someone is open to kids and they're like, I prefer to prioritize partnership, so I'm not even going to think about kids if I don't even find my person yet, but I am open to children, then you can go with that. You know what I mean? But yeah, like cutting things off because of something silly like music taste, just don't pass the aux. Or like, you know, you work out separately, have different headphones on. Like, how often are you bonding over music in the moment?
Right.
And if you are, you need to go hang out in those crowds. Don't pick random people off the internet and dating apps to find who don't have those requirements. You know what I mean? But I think along with like the religion and do you want kids or not, like those are major talking points that people need to figure out. But then also lifestyle in general.
Yeah.
Like, I dated a sloth. When I say sedentary, did not eat healthy, did not work out. And it was kind of embarrassing because I'm like, sir, you have way more money than me. You have the resources to get it together. And ultimately, it was an ick and a turnoff because he was already 10 years my senior. And so I'm going to take care of my man regardless. So I already know I'm going to take care of you because you're my man. I'm going to take care of you because you're older, but you're going to deteriorate faster than you need to because your insides are probably rotting.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes change isn't happening for lack of resources, it's lack of desire. Because you had mentioned that your fat loss journey happened for free 99. You know, you wanted it so bad that you didn't have to find a nutritionist, you didn't have to pay an Instagram trainer for some expensive workout routine. You just had that desire and you were committed.
So I realized, okay, I'm definitely not compatible. There's nothing to compromise if somebody like refuses to eat. If I cook too, so I'm like, you mean to tell me if I make a protein and a starch and greens and I have Topo Chico sparkling water next to us, are you going to ignore all this and just still order takeout? And I feel like it was leaning more in that direction where it was like, yeah, when you're not around, I'm still going to eat like crap. So
that's actually a huge compromise that my husband made, and I'm so appreciative for it, because cooking, providing for my family in that way, even though my sister, even though my daughter like rolls her eyes because I have this app, I think I shared it with you, Yuka, and I'm like scanning everything, and she's like, oh mom, just stop it. But like, feeding my family nutritious foods is my love language. Like, I want to keep all of us alive for as long as possible, and I'm not extreme with it, right? We practice boundaries. Like, yes, after dinner, Lily has her little pint of Ben and Jerry's in the freezer. Like, have some ice cream, treat yourself. I already know that when I go out of town, and if Joe is on pickup duty, they might stop by McDonald's. Do I love it? No, but the balance and the compromise is, more often than not, we are eating healthy meals. And because my husband knows how important that is to me, even though he didn't necessarily grow up cooking and that was foreign to him, he was willing to try. So he now partakes in looking up recipes, which, as anybody that cooks knows, that's half the battle. It's not always necessarily like just the grocery shopping or actually preparing the meal, but it's like, ugh, what am I gonna make today? I'm so tired of all the foods that I've been eating. So to have somebody see what is important to me on that level and then now contribute to it, even though it doesn't come naturally to them, like, it just makes me swoon. Like, that to me means more than like a bouquet of flowers, because there's so much thoughtfulness in that act, you know?
It's really good that you figured out the food stuff, because you literally eat every single day.
Yes.
It just would not work if just the people are just on different pages, and because you can't buy 2 different hauls of groceries, like, it's just not sustainable. So I think, yeah, in the major categories, you need to have the conversation. You don't need to be the same, but have the conversation and figure out the compromise.
Absolutely.
Like, my parents are different religions. My mom is a Jehovah's Witness and my father is not, and I was baptized like Coptic Christian, whatever they are in Ethiopia and Eritrea, but like, we have the pretty pictures of me in the white dress as a baby, and I got baptized and all the things. But a lot of religion is more tradition than it is adherence, and a lot of my friends are like that too. Religion never comes up. They're just good people, right? You just treat people how you want to be treated, and most people I know believe in a higher power, because just in general, where did we come from? Even if you think, oh, the Big Bang, okay, then who made the Big Bang? You know, you can just always go one layer beyond, and I've settled on, there is a creator. It is what it is. But I'm not religious. But my parents have been together over 40 years, and they are very different religions. So it can work if you want it to work, just like different political stances. It just depends. You don't always have to have a heated debate at the dinner table, but you can respectfully agree to disagree.
Have they ever had conversations about one or the other converting? Like, before they had kids, or they just accepted that and knew that that's what it was going to be throughout the marriage?
My mom acquiesced to my father, which was, we all got baptized his religion, because it was very just traditional household, man of the house and all that. So the man's last name goes to the kids, the man's religion goes to the kids. So that's like normal in my eyes, that like, oh, this, you just follow your husband. But then of course the kids grow up and you do whatever you want to do. And we were very secular. We went to college. Like, my mom, she introduced us to her religion, but no one attached to it. When I was 19, I did do Bible study with a Jehovah's Witness, just because I was more interested in the theology aspect. I'm like, what exactly do you guys believe? Like, we just make fun of you guys for knocking on doors and like annoying us. But I actually learned their tenets, and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. But I just took the information just like any other piece of information you learn in school. I didn't apply it to my life and get baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. So I feel the same way about Islam. Like, I respect the man that I'm dating, and that he's a Muslim, and that he prays, and that he fasts during Ramadan, and that he doesn't drink or eat pork, but I don't think I'll ever find it in my heart to want to earnestly convert or wear a hijab or any stuff, like anything like that. I'm just me, and I will respect your religion.
And that's all you can ask for. Like, I think Joe fully understands that I might never speak in tongues. And that's okay, you know? And he's allowed to do it. He hasn't done it in front of me. I asked him, though, because everyone else in his family does. And I'm like, so do you do that too? And he's like, yeah, but he's like, I don't want you to laugh at me. And I was like, oh. And then I was like, oh. Like, I want him to be comfortable expressing himself in all facets and not worry that I'm going to like joke. And so I think that's something that I need to work on. I'm like, all right, we don't have enough trust built in that area, because we do joke a lot, but it's playful. It's not necessarily hurtful. But if he still doesn't feel comfortable doing that in front of me, I was just kind of like.
So it's real then?
It's real.
They really feel the spirit?
Listen, you asking the wrong person, so please ask him tonight. But it's real. It wouldn't be real if I did it, but it's real.
It seems like theater.
We're going to get the answers tonight, and we'll report back.
Please don't strike me down. Sorry.
I was told by my parents. My parents also are, I guess, different in that neither of them necessarily practice a religion. But then as my mom got older, she was more in pursuit of a closer connection to God. I think my dad believes in God. I don't think he's atheist, but he doesn't really go to church. He goes sometimes by force, or if the grandkids ask him to. But my mom definitely started going more regularly in her adult life. We grew up in Germany, so as kids, she was like, you are Protestant. We were like, okay, cool. And then one summer in Mississippi, we got baptized because everybody was doing it, which is like the wrong reason to get baptized. And then fast forward, when my daughter was 7, she came to me and said she wanted to get baptized, which I thought was really sweet, for her to make that decision on her own. And now we do kind of go to church regularly, but I just want my kids to have like a North Star. Like when life starts lifing and like things get hard, when we pass, I want them to have something to anchor them that they can still find safety and security in. And I would like that to be a higher power. I won't be devastated if it's not necessarily the same religion as us. But I can't say, like earlier I asked you if you would be upset if your kids were atheist. I think I would struggle with that. Like, you got to believe in something. I don't care what you believe in, but I'd rather you believe in something over nothing.
Yeah, I think the positive qualities that can come from being religious, I support. Like, you're disciplined, you're waking up at a certain time to pray, you're waking up on Sundays to go to church, like people are kind, you help your neighbors, you have a church community, so you're socializing. I'm sure your daughter goes to Bible, or the kids
like
Sunday kids thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like you cultivate
the Sunday kids thing.
The Sunday kids thing. But yeah, no, you cultivate community and you like have these skills that are cemented, not cemented.
Here we go.
You don't know how to say that word. That's what it's supposed to sound like. Cemented.
Okay.
Cemented.
Thank you.
Yeah, so she has all these skills, and so I love that. And same with the Muslim man. Like, he prays multiple times a day. He has to fit his busy job in that discipline as well. So I'm like, I like the good characteristics that come from someone believing in something bigger than themselves. Mm-hmm. And what worries me about an atheist, this is not always going to be true, but maybe you're more selfish because it's me, myself, and I. Like, you don't think of anything bigger. I'm just worried of how they frame the world when they're like, nothing matters, especially like a nihilism is like the belief that nothing matters and you're just here and then you're not. So I just think bigger than myself.
Yeah. How do you derive purpose then if like nothing matters? Like what are you living for?
Exactly.
So we want to hear from you. How important is it to be equally yoked with your partner? What are you willing to compromise on in a relationship?
Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. And stay tuned for next week's episode, Alex's first solo sit down, Life Be Lifin'. So she's going to talk about what now?